Laura was bright and beautiful at age 19 when she was killed in a rampage shooting.
By the end of today, in the United States, 297 people will be shot. 48 of those victims will be children. 89 of them will die. And of those gun deaths, 7 will be children.
When a person with severe untreated mental illness came in and shot her 4 times at point blank range, Laura died with her pen still in her hand.
I'm tired of the body bags. I'm tired of going to funerals and seeing mothers crying and fathers crying.
Gun violence rips apart families and communities.
And it tore apart her family. Alicia Carradine, 8 years old. She was a murder victim of gun violence. She was the same age as my daughter.
In America, it's a big problem, but here in California, where we can do something about it as legislators, we have the responsibility to tackle this.
And that's exactly what a group of California State Assembly members are doing. They have joined forces to craft a package of legislation aimed at keeping guns out of the hands of criminals and the mentally ill. It's a cause that Amanda Wilcox, mother of murder victim Laura Wilcox, fights for every day.
This happened because someone who had no business owning a gun had a house full of guns.
And we're trying to figure out what is the best strategy to really stop this violence while allowing people who are responsible gun owners to keep owning their guns.
Assemblymember Phil Ting wants to amend the gun violence restraining order law, which currently allows family members or law enforcement to petition the court to temporarily prohibit a dangerous person from owning or purchasing a firearm. Ting's legislation, Assembly Bill 2607, would expand the list of persons who can request that restraining order.
So basically, it just expands the program that already exists today and allows a few other people who really are in greater contact with that person. We're around our coworkers or people who we go to school with a lot more than our family members most of the time.
Assemblymember David Chu wants to close a loophole in California's assault weapons ban, enacted by the legislature 27 years ago.
Over the years, gun manufacturers have taken advantage of a major loophole to create hundreds of thousands of guns that have detachable magazines and so-called bullet buttons that allow for the guns to be used, as they were in San Bernardino, to kill many individuals within an extremely short period of time. That is what our bill is addressing.
AB 1663 would strengthen our state's assault weapons ban by prohibiting the future manufacturing or sale of rifles that can accept detachable magazines and ammunition. It would also create a registration process for people who already own those weapons.
Mass shooting incidences have taken lives of Californians and of Americans, and we haven't seen laws tightened to make sure that assault rifles like AR-15s that have clips that can be changed really in seconds can be taken off our streets.
And you would use the next magazine.
Assemblymember Mark Levine's legislation, AB 1664, clarifies and strengthens the definition of an assault weapon.
AB 1664 closes a bullet button loophole that allows, with just the click of a button, a clip with 10 rounds of ammo to be switched in a second or two so that another clip of 10 rounds can be put back in the rifle and then, of course, create more massive damage and take lives.
Assemblymember Miguel Santiago hopes to save lives with his legislation, AB 1674. Current law limits handgun purchases to 1 gun per month per person. However, a person can purchase an unlimited number of long guns, such as shotguns or rifles.
It is ludicrous to me to think that somebody can walk into a gun shop, buy an unlimited amount of guns, go out, keep them in their house. This is a time bomb waiting to happen. So what AB 1674 tries to do is bring parity to the law so that folks can only buy 1 gun at a time, whether it's a long gun or whether it's a handgun.
Assemblymember Rob Bonta's legislation, AB 1695, would crack down on so-called straw gun purchasers.
Most recently, a straw purchase was what led to the shooters in the San Bernardino to get the guns that they had and create the tragedy and the murders and the terror in San Bernardino. And that happens too often throughout California, where someone who is legally allowed to purchase a gun purchases it simply to give it to someone who ordinarily would not have the legal right to purchase a gun. So we need to crack down on that act.
In addition to being charged with a crime, straw purchasers would be prohibited from buying firearms for 10 years.
This can be made at home.
And finally, Assembly Bill 1673, authored by Assemblymember Mike Gibson, would expand the definition of a firearm to include the parts needed to build one. which right now can legally be purchased separately without serial numbers, making them undetectable.
These are guns that goes under the radar, undetected, and when used, no one can actually identify who actually did it, because these ghost guns are exactly that. They're ghosts. You don't see them.
AB 1673 would also require people who already have these guns to register them.
And with reasonable legislation, we can protect lives and save lives in California.
That's exactly what these concerned lawmakers are hoping to do.
I think anyone who's had an opportunity to interact with a family member of a victim of gun violence knows that guns that are supposed to only be used in the field of combat and war, being used in our neighborhoods, being used in our kitchens, in our restaurants, in our public spaces, in our schools, they just don't have any place in California society. And so I hope that as a state we can come together to tackle safety, to stand up for victims.
I don't need to be reminded of National Gun Violence Awareness Day or Week. Sadly, I'm aware of it every single day. Every day I wonder what my daughter would be doing now. Would she be married? Would I be a grandmother? I'll never know.
This report was produced by the Speaker's Office of Member Services.